So there is something that's happening. We're educating the people. It's important, right?
Yeah.
The Marriage Act and Inheritance Law Facts and Myths seminar that is being hosted by Rita together with you, Nyari. Yes, it's happening on...
It's happening on the 15th of July, which is Tuesday next week, and on the 17th of July, which is Thursday next week. And it's at Celebration Center. So just buy your tickets and come and learn.
So, topics to be covered. Do small house now have rights? Can I sue for adultery damages? Has Rora or Lobola been abolished? Whose house is it in marriage? Is it a trust? Is a trust better than a will? So you're covering a whole lot of things, eh?
Loads of things. I mean, Vikendi, it is shameful, the ignorance that the average Zimbabwean has concerning the law. And I know we're doing the most that we can on radio, but still, every time I talk to somebody, they're like, what? Like, what's chingy? You know, so whatever protection they think they have, they don't. Whatever protection they think they don't have, they actually do. So that's why we called it a facts and myths seminar, so that guys come and see which are the facts, come and see which are the myths. Otherwise, Murukuronga Zimbabwe new based on shaky ground.
So, how much is it?
It's $25. It's just an investment of $25. And I always, I think about it and I'm like, okay, somebody can say, you don't want this. But just going to consult with a lawyer, you have to pay at least $100. So to get all that information, it's a small amount to pay.
It's a small amount to pay. And there'll also be entertainment by Fusion 5 and Breeze Music as well.
And Prudence Katomeni. So on the Tuesday, there's going to be Fusion 5 and Breeze Music. And then on the Thursday, there's going to be Prudence and Breeze Music. Of course, because Breeze Music, I sing with Breeze Music. So it makes sense.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
From what time to what time?
So it's going to be from 6 o'clock to 9 p.m. We'd actually put it to 8 p.m., but then we noticed there just won't be enough time to do everything, and people will be wanting to probably ask a question or two. So gates will open at 5:30 at Celebration in Borodale. Guys, Celebration Center. And come along.
You have to be. You have to be. I'm
there.
going to be there, tell you that. Also giving away tickets. Yes, 2 tickets to give away, right?
For today.
For today.
Yeah.
What's the question?
Okay, so the question that we want to ask today is to say, where is the seminar, or where are the seminars going to be held? Where is the venue?
Venue and time.
It's a giveaway. Venue and time.
Venue and time.
There you go. Yeah.
Yes, so you can hit us up on our WhatsApp platform 0772 162651. Let's get into it. Something topical, rape. That's been happening, and it's one of the crimes that are difficult to prove.
That's really, really hectic, because it happens between two people, or in some instances 3 people.
Yes.
And it is really hectic because it's usually your word against mine. I'm saying I did not agree or consent. You're saying, dude, tangata wirirana, and you and wakazochinja mpaka, and
you switched up on me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what we agreed is what we agreed on, and after the fact, I didn't think that I had to pay more, because that's what I paid.
So if your word is convincing, it means that you're then not guilty. Which I was following you online, you say that it does not mean that I'm innocent, but then just not enough evidence accumulated to say that you are guilty.
Yes, exactly. Yeah? So you know what's interesting with the law? I think what everybody has to understand is that the courts, like I said on my social media, they would rather a guilty man walks free than an innocent man is incarcerated, wrong. Both of them, or wrongly, both of them are evils, but maybe one is a better evil, than the other. Kuti pane munhu asina kuita mhosva, owanikwa amujere, and they vari kupika nyaya yasina kuita, right? But in cases like this, you'll notice that the court entirely depends on the state case. Right? Saka, kana chiti state case, trikuti muchuchisi, right? The person who's representing the complainant, munauya achimangara nyaya, right? Kuti inini ndakarepwa. What happens is the state inofana kuunganidza case ka ya iri solid. Inozotishisa paya panonzi beyond a reasonable doubt. Saka pane inonzi beyond, right? Then pane inonzi reasonable, then pane inonzi doubt. So the court might doubt, but if the doubt is unreasonable, they will find against the accused. But if it's a reasonable doubt, you would it might not add up because the state case was not strong enough. Then secondly, it might not add up because the evidence which was necessary to help the court to find the accused guilty was just not presented before the court. And the court makes a decision based on the evidence yawiwa nayo, right? And so, like I was saying, in our law, we don't say Muna has been found guilty or they have been found innocent. Innocent. Why? Because nyaya evidence, right? So you might not be innocent. You might have done it. But we just didn't have enough evidence to nab you, to find you guilty.
You're then acquitted.
So you're then acquitted, So vamwe vakatobatsirika kana the state isina kusimbisa nyaya yavo, right? Maybe there's an accused who is guilty, right? But because the prosecution fumbled, right, it means kuti that person went scot-free. Which is why we depend on prosecutors. Kuti vaite put together a strong case, not just a strong case yekunenera munhu mhosva isiri yake, but a strong case to bring enough evidence before the court to allow the court to make the right decision. So kana court isingapiwe evidence, court cannot act on a whim, avatarise kuti uyo sure akanaka kumeso ndiyellow bone certificate, ari pretty kana kuti ana my hips and chin shonzi obvious uyu abatwa kana kuti you know what I mean. So the court acts on evidence, and that is what the court does. So it's important that enough evidence be placed before the court. Now, while we are on that, of course, Panenyaya, which is trending, and now that, a verdict has been given, we can talk about it, right? And just sort of give, maybe like a comment on it. Kuti, what I found interesting was Kuti, the state put forward its case, right? Vakashedza ma witnesses avo, including some witnesses that gave pretty damning evidence, right? Pano vakatouya vakataura kuti inini ndakaudzwa chakati, indinoza chakati, indinoza chakati, etc., right? Okay. That being the case, it would seem as if nyaya inofana kutofira ipapo, because pane nyaya dzinofira ku-state case before vanhu vatomboshedzwa kuti vazoisa or the accused anzi uya uzotipa defense yako. Kana koti kangona kuti nyaya yanakana nemusoro mani handiti haitorina nyaya haitorina musoro because of evidence yaunzwa na prosecutor. It is not enough on the face of it for us to call the accused to put him to his defense, right? The court can dismiss it at the close of the state case, right? And you'll notice, Kuti, when the state presents its case before the court, what then happens is the defense, who are the lawyers for the accused people, ndo vanwanzo kusota make an application kana state yati tapedza nyaya yedu iyi nyaya iyi pa court, ndo nyaya yati kuti accused is guilty. The defense is allowed to make an application to the court to say apa ndo pastorina nyaya. They have failed to establish what we call a prima facie case, kuti just on the face of it apana nyaya, guys, and the lawyers of the accused did that. Panyaya Nyamai Jeremiah, they actually did that. They applied to the Rasai Nyaya, Pananyaya. And you know what the court said? In spite of all the evidence, like I'm saying, damning evidence which had been given against the complainant, and the court said no.
We're gonna go ahead.
We are gonna go ahead. Okay. We don't think kuti nesha taurwa ishi. We are not confident kuti titi a court would be unreasonable to proceed. You know what I mean? How do they put it? They usually say, kuti a reasonable court to find against the accused. And we don't think kuti jakwana kuti titi the accused must not be put on his defense. And in spite of kwashedzwa witness who use a star witness. Auyakataura zviri discombobulating, you know.
Who is a party ari kusaidu kwa complainant.
Angari part angari party angari kusaidu kwa complainant ndishoka.
In terms of relation.
In terms of relations, yes. But evidence yakapa. And
it was damaging.
It was damaging.
Okay.
So kanatoti it was a state witness.
Okay.
Then ataura ishosho. And it's really damaging kudaro. The court still could not find kuti papas na nyaya. You understand? So the court said we are putting the accused on his defense, right? Or on their defense.
Okay.
Right? And they were put on their defense. And they did give evidence. Vakataurao, you know, vakataura kuti no guys, it was consensual, it was what. So I think ultimately the court then yakazama kubalansa pakati pezvazvataurwa complainant because anga ne statement yake yanga aisa nezvakazotaurwawo accused, I mean nama accused anga aripo. Court yakazobalansa. I think vakazosvika pakuti okay fine, tatarisa zvese tawerengedza umbowo wese, all the evidence that has come before us, we have found that there is a reasonable doubt. Quite kuti they found kuti these guys were innocent.
Okay.
You get
I guess we have to clarify that. Okay.
You know, so they didn't find kuti hapana nyaya. Although you know kana mnanzi aitwa acquitted, it's as if ari kunzi hapana nyaya.
Okay.
But ichinogona futi kuti sure hapana nyaya. You get what I mean? It can be interpreted in different ways. But like I'm saying, why we don't say...
Totally.
Yeah,
so it could mean two things.
Either of two things.
Either of two. Okay.
Exactly.
I get you.
Either you dragged these guys into court for nothing.
Or apana
nyaya yabatika. Nesha tapiwa. You know, in fact, even though pane something chinenge chakaitika. And it can pane jatogona kuti, you know, you never know. But tawana a reasonable doubt yekuti titi van ava, this is exactly what happened. You know? So perhaps the complainant's case was not solid. Perhaps the accused's explanation was more credible according to the court. Tirikuti perhaps. But ultimately we know kuti the two young gentlemen were acquitted, you know, and that means they were found not guilty, but not necessarily innocent.
Okay. Let's look at rape itself. You know, because I was just also following the story of, I guess, one of the things that the judge then spelled out in their ruling is that it seemed maybe it was consensual to some extent because of the penetration process itself. Yes, yeah.
So you know what? That's always very interesting. And you know what? We can never judge the judge because if you think of it, when a person says kuti maybe ininda kutobatwa panapa, you know, ndosha kutoitika.
Yes.
The first thing you're worried about is this person safe? You know what I mean? Are they not going to give me a disease, etc., etc.? So it doesn't mean kuti kana munaka kumbira kuti can you put on protection? Kuti it's consensual. You understand what I mean? Just
yes,
as a thing, because sometimes munano gona kutoti okay, but usually when it's like a rape, you know, a rape usually by nature it's coming from somebody who has some kind of a mental challenge. You understand what I mean? Mono either a sense of entitlement, mono arikuda ku crush somebody. You know what I mean? Usually when we're dealing with the typical rape case, ndeye kuti mono arikuti you know, ane some kind of low self-esteem, maybe coming from kukura kwa akaita and stuff. Like if you see my serial rapists, you know, like they want to conquer, so they actually want the struggle, you know. Shanoda is that struggle. Kuti uchiti aiwa ndiskuda achikuti ndinokuraya achikuthreaten achidin. Then their satisfaction goes beyond the sexual act. it goes to the fact that I conquered you. You know, you struggled and I conquered you. So if you're looking at the scientific, way that we look at rape, usually it doesn't accommodate kuzotaurirana kuti aiwa chisa protection chiti. You understand what I mean?
But then I guess now maybe because chero vanhu vemumba munhu akafosera mumwe wake vakaroorana yakutonzi rape.
Itori rape. Now we're looking at abananchiti looking at the typical rape.
The typical, okay. All right.
But these days, sekuziya kuti look, munangona kuti panapa ndatokonewa. Okay, fine, if you're going to do it. And zvesvisiri kuti shamari ngatinyorerane pasi, wewo saina ndosaina hapana zvinhu zvakadaro. Patori neforce pane zviri kutoitika and pane kutya nekuchizidzwa kwaitwa. But if a person then asks kuti can you put on protection, it does not negate the fact that it was rape.
Okay.
Right. And I think we once discussed marital rape, which has come in with that court order. How it was how abortion laws were expanded, right, and how they were also looking at marital rape. Kutoti look ndrogona kutoona baba shuwa baba watoti uri mukadzi wangu ndakabvisira fuma shamari handitika ende inini ndiri kutoda iwo chiti aiwa kwete maybe chimene mndorapiswa kana kuti maybe atsatakadzisa nyaya dzedu or inini I will be in pain or whatever the case, or I'm not feeling well, whatever the case may be. If a person is in that state, okay, fine, if you're going to do it, and because it's not like ndawirana newe, but it seems like you're not going to stop, then can you try and at least put on protection so that this happens? Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
and Olewe had some questions. You can also come. She can also come in. She had a lot of questions as well. You can also hit us up on our WhatsApp platform. We're also live on Facebook. Yeah.
Yes. So advocates, my question will be the initial stages of reporting a rape.
Right.
Being pandunotanga kuno reporter ku police. Does the statement that I give kumapurisa, is that the same statement that's going to be used in court? And are there chances whereby I might feel like when I made the report, now I've settled, I'm calm, I want to redo the statement? Is there a possibility of that?
Absolutely. You can redo a statement, but kuita redo statement ikoko can be used for or against you. You get what I mean? So,
okay.
Because kanoakandopa report kumapurisa, you are, kana uchitoripa panic iyoyo, it means you are at your best truth. You know what I mean? Do utori padhuze nechokwadi chako chekutoti utoti ichi ndoshaitika mvashedai kuti unzwa sombogara pasi ukazoita premeditate kutaura
I think actually yeah
you are closest to your truth at that time because the thing has just happened, so vanorecorda. And generally speaking, you are allowed to change your statement. Anytime you can change your statement. But like I'm saying,
does it affect the outcome?
It can affect. Well, it affects the evidence that you're giving. You know, because the court. Because then maybe urkuchinja statement should not make a sense. Like there was a time I was carjacked, and then ndakatoshika kumapurisa ndikati vapa number yeimwewo mota istori mota yakakajekwa iyoyo. Later on ndakazona ndikati aiwa aisiyo motikari yacho yakajekwa ndakajekwa nayo imotikari yakati. So you see, that's assisting. The change is assisting police investigation. But kana zvikazonzi aiwa actually ndandazombofunga zvakati, and then especially panyaya dzerape dzakangonaka kuti uve consistent. Like your best evidence is when you are consistent. with what you said before. Uchingoramba uri panyaya yako iyoyo, kwete kuti actually ndakazofunga kuti aiwa ngoti nguva yacho yareba just ipapo ndopapa kutota kuti unzi your evidence is inconsistent, or you are prevaricating, and hatichakunzwisisi iwewe because isusu kutomisa dare. Exactly, kutomisa dare kwataita panapa takamisa dare nenyaya yako iwewe manje kana nyaya yachona isiri straight isusu hatichaziva kuti toita sei kuti titi taku even though munhu yari guilty iwewe ndiweka kuti state yatiri kuti case yavo should be totally strong, but they're depending on the complainant.
Well, they're depending on the complainant.
Someone
then asked, can you have your own lawyer or private investigator to support the prosecutor in terms of gathering evidence?
That's actually very important, especially in terms of izo dzinyaya dzakasimba dzerapids. Zvezvakanaka kuti uite, remember what we called a watching brief. You can hire your own lawyer who can be following up the case right to the end. achibatsirawo because dzimwe nguva kana uchitori watching brief inini am watching brief ndinotoita research yese yamacases ndinotocheka kuti okay saka zvapapi saka zviri kufamba sei. So that really does help if you can afford it to get a lawyer who can assist in the case. Tiwati watching brief because aringoripo atombopiwa mukana wekutaura mukoti but aripo achiongororawo kuti nyaya iri kumbonatsofamba sei ende achibatsirawo vachuchisi and because vanhu vane basa rakawanda kwete kuti vanombonyikidza nyaya no, but sometimes it helps to just have a third eye on the case.
Got a question here, but we're running out of time. And how can one prove that they did not rape from a relationship gone wrong? Seems some women are doing so to fix someone who dumps them and feel used.
Yeah, it's true. Teta kutarisa manje what we call contemporaneity, right? Kuti how early was the reporting? Because kana munhu uchiti ndakarepewa muna February, imakarambana muna July, wakutaura kuti but paipai actually muna March akambondirepa, the court will also consider that. Kuti saka pawakarepa pachino wakadii kundoreport, right? Kwete kuti they will throw out the case, but like I'm saying, they'll use it as evidence that goes towards the decision they're going to make on the case. It can be used for or against you. Nyaya kuti wakatorebesa. Pane mwe kutoti munhu ka angazotaura kuti no ndakatorepwa last year nemunhu uyu. Zvonzi but wakaregera kutaura pesa apa kuti aiwa ndaitya ngati ndoraya mai vangu and everything. The court will consider that and say obviously munhu akatochichidzirwa, and so it explains the delay in the reporting. But kana iri boyfriend and girlfriend, it's always really, really hard, but it's not impossible, to prove kuti you didn't rape or kuti you were raped.
Advocates, thank you so much. We've run out of time, but then Tuesday is happening and also going to be giving away tickets right here.
Yeah.
For those who want to get in touch with you, your details.
Okay, guys, Advocate Maphosa on all my social media handles, Facebook, X, etc., etc. 796060 is my landline, 796060. I'm in Harare, and 0771-111-099, and we carry on with the conversation.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure to have you live in the studio. Taking our time to 11 o'clock, Star FM. It's time for the news.
This is